Okay, so for making this dual tone wig, I bought two of the exact same wigs from Amazon, just in a different color. It's really actually pretty important when you're doing like a half and half split right down the middle wig like this, that the wigs are gonna be in the same style because you don't want it to be lopsided. And even if they're in the same style but different brands, the inside, like the cap, how it's constructed and everything, might be different, and it makes it a lot easier if it's the same wig. So I started by parting the one down the middle in the front to try and separate all the hairs to one side or the other so I didn't accidentally cut through them, because you want to cut through as little hair as possible if you can help it. And I was just going in really carefully and starting to cut it apart. And this is my first time doing this to a wig, so I was honestly really nervous, but the second one went way faster because I had more confidence in myself to be able to cut it. But when you first start cutting a wig, it is very scary because you're like, I should not be doing this to a wig that I've never worn out and I paid money for. So, but yeah, here I'm just working my way through the wig. There's, at least in my wigs, there was a part with like a thicker lace on the inside, and then you see, I kind of had to cut that from the outside of the wig. And you see here, I like flipped it inside out, and I'm cutting all the wefts down the back of the wig because it's all just like free wefts there. So that part's actually a lot easier to cut through and keep it neat. But then there's that little part of lace down at the bottom where you have to kind of weasel your way in there with the scissors from the outside. But yeah, I only recorded myself cutting the red wig because it was honestly way too hard to see the black wig on camera because the wefts were black. So here I'm using black thread because all the inside of the cap and everything is black, so it matches. Threading my needle. So for the top of the wig and the front of the wig, you want to make it as flat as possible. So you're kind of sewing them next to each other and not together, if that makes sense. I went through the red side first a couple times to tie my knot, and then I went through the black side once and I pulled them together, and then I went back through the red side, back through the black side, so that they're being pulled together and held together instead of held on top of each other, just so that it'll stay flat on my head and it won't make the wig any smaller, if that makes sense. Because if you sew them together, they're gonna have a seam allowance, so you're gonna have like a little strip of sewed part, like a part where the stitches are. So for the top, all the way through that lace section on like the very top of the head, I sewed the pieces next to each other. And when you get to the skin coin, it's a little hard to sew through because you have to poke your needle through the plastic, but you still do it the same way, through one side and then through the other, and then back again through the first, just pulling them next to each other instead of sewing them on top of each other like you would, like if you were sewing fabrics together, for example. So now I was just looking at it, seeing like how they came together and everything, seeing how visible it was. And it's kind of hard when you're doing a dual tone wig to not have thread showing because it's two different colors. You have to have one color of thread. So I just picked black. It's honestly not that noticeable, especially since it's at the top of your head. Most people look at you from straight on and not from the top, but I mean, on my wig, the finished product is still pretty good, I would say. So, like I said, this is my first time sewing a wig together. And also in the back part, I didn't record it because my camera was dying, but all the wefts that are like individual wefts, I just sewed those together by overlapping them. So I was not sewing them next to each other anymore because I got past that top part of the lace. So I just overlapped them, put a couple stitches through them, tied it off, and then moved to the next one all the way down. And that part was very easy too because the material's not too thick for the needle to go through and everything. The only hard part is like you have little hairs on the end where you cut it apart that are trying to like fall off or whatever. So yeah, also that means that when you brush your wig through, it's gonna shed a lot for a while until like all the hairs that aren't like tied in that you cut will like fall out, and then after that it should be good. But here I'm just showing me sewing through the rest of the skin coin part on the top and making my way to the back of the wig. I think in total this wig took me maybe like 3 hours or so to sew, but I was also recording and stuff, and like this is my first video, so it probably took me way longer than it needed to. But yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was kind of easier than I thought. So my advice is just to be careful and take your time if you need to make it look good. But with all the hair, I'm showing here like what the whole thing looks like. It really looks better than you probably think it's going to be. Like when the hair falls on it, it looks okay. So here I'm just sewing in some clips because I have a big head and I hate wearing cosplay wigs because they always like want to slide off my head. So I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna deal with this. I don't want to have problems with my wig sliding off my head. So I just took some clips from some cheap old extensions I had, which ideally they would be black, the same color as the cap of the wig, but I only had blonde ones and I wasn't gonna go out and buy any for this. I just wanted to use what I already had. So yeah, that is that's why they're bright yellow, but I guess it's better that you can see them better on camera, so it doesn't really matter to me. So yeah, I know you can buy dual-toned wigs like this, but I couldn't find one in the specific bob style that I wanted. I'm doing like a punk style Harley Quinn, and especially since my con is only in a couple weeks, and with shipping and everything, ordering one from overseas would take way too long to get here. So these were Prime eligible, so I got them in 2 days, and it was way better. I think they were like $15 a piece, so $30 for the whole wig, which, I mean, for getting it in 2 days, I'm pretty happy with. So, yeah, definitely the speed of it all was my main concern. I didn't want to like order a wig and not get it in time for the con and stuff like that. So yeah. Here is some finished selfies of how the wig turned out with a little bit of cutting, and yeah, I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.